Finally, I had the time to do a proper Halloween intro, but unfortunately, had a couple of little jobs come in recently. I'm going to be coaching a very famous actor tomorrow. Can't say who, but that's going to be a lot of fun. So I've had quite a lot on my plate the last 72 hours. But nevertheless, we're doing a Halloween special. It's kind of a chew the fat episode. In other words, we're going to chew the fat over one of my favorite films of all time, John Carpenter's 1982 production of The Thing, based on a previous film, The Thing from Another World / more based on the book, Who Goes There. I've got not one, not two, but three guests who haven't been on the channel before, as far as I remember. And I'm hoping that they'll be on many times in the future. Some of them I met at the London meetup. Others I met online. Another I met through the Mr. Brown Alliance channel. So it's a real collaboration tonight, and that's actually quite lovely because I also got some really good news tonight. It's not really relevant to the stream, but I might share it anyway in a little bit. So what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be talking about really what this film meant to us, how it impacted us, why it's still good today. We're not going to be doing so much a blow-by-blow account of this scene and that scene and that scene, because I already did a happy hour on The Thing on the channel of The Critical Drinker a few weeks ago, and I don't really want to just repeat and say all the same things. However, I am going to cover trivia and that sort of thing. Just see who we got in the chat. We got Canoli Sasquatch is there. Thanks very much for popping in. Desert Phoenix, who often joins me on my gaming streams, is there. I've no idea who Fakino is or Faninko or whatever that, however you say that. But thanks very much for popping in, sir. You're very welcome. David Macy, another loyal fan of the channel. And, of course, Keith E., who I know from Retro Nerd Girls channel. Thanks very much for popping in, Keith. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring in the first of my guests, the man in the orange jumpsuit, Stupenzo.
Oh, hello. Greetings from Earth. Or greetings to Earthlings. I'm great. Halloween, my favorite holiday.
Like me, you look like you've got a lot of interesting toy knickknacks.
Yeah, this is my man cave / storage shed that's like attached to my garage that I do all my broadcasting from because I can get loud.
I don't want to go too off topic, but if you were going to pick one item from behind you that is your particularly treasured nerdy gift, what would you grab?
My VH copy of Rockula, which it's a movie that I've had for 10 years on VHS, and I've never finished it. I've never watched it all the way through until this year, and it made me go insane. I'm gonna cherish that VHS copy like a holy grail. I love it. I also got like the original English dub of Akira back there, and a bunch of stuff. Got a bunch of comic books over here that you can't see too. So it's cool.
Believe it or not, I have actually heard of that. I have heard of Rockula. That movie.
It's insane.
Next, it's a man who I met in the queue for the bar, then the queue for the drinker's autograph, then just the queue for the toilet. It's Tomby.
Tomby.
Almost boomered. Forgot to take my mic out. How you doing, guys?
I thought you were sort of about to go into some sort of DJ rap. You look like you were like
it's almost sort of mix. I was trying to hit the button. It's like, nah.
Hit Tomby.
Miss. How you doing, guys? How we doing?
Is that a Cobra Kai t-shirt?
It is indeed, sir.
Is the last season of that dropping soonish? Is it soon?
I think the last one's just finished.
Oh, well, then I should check out the show. Then
hang on a minute. So has the final season dropped? The final season?
No.
Okay. No. I thought I'd missed it for a second.
I like to wait until shows are completely finished, and then I'll give it a chance.
Just binge the lot.
I gotta make sure it's good. If it's over 40 hours, it has to be amazing. You know what I mean? I don't want to watch something that's 40 hours long and find out it's okay.
Especially with the Netflix binge model.
Next, we've got one of the members of the Outcast Australia, a small but tight-knit group of creatives, which include film director Matthew Holmes and the fantastically underrated and overworked actor Gary Boulter from Down Under.
Hi.
Oh, good. Your audio is working then.
Fantastic. That makes a change.
Gary is responsible for doing intro videos and things. Like, for example, the intro that we use on our new Best of British Drama. It's only 22 seconds, so let's take a quick look.
It's the home of Shakespeare, football, and mushy peas. It's a place of happy valleys and friends in the north. It's gritty, outlandish, it's a cracker. If it has a heartbeat, you'll find it here.
That is the
Nice.
sexy voice of Gary Boulter doing that intro sequence, which you know, was a collaborative effort. By that I mean,
You are a big fan of that intro, I can tell.
I am. I gave you a 4-line brief, so I did 10% of the work, and you did the other 90%. Thank you very much. It is really good. We're doing a regular stream where we're talking about mainly gritty, kind of short British dramas, 4-6 episodes of single season dramas. I'm mainly focusing on. I'm trying to cover one of those a week. There'll certainly be 2 or 3 a month, guys. Particularly for my American fans, it's good to introduce them to stuff that they might not have seen. We've just covered the 2 dramas on the Yorkshire Ripper, and we're doing a really deep, in-depth view of Our Friends in the North, which launched the careers of Christopher Eccleston, the new Doctor Who, when it rebooted Mark Strong and Daniel Craig, the new James Bond. But before we go any further, the man with the 3rd sexiest voice on YouTube, it's Zee Threepio.
Oh, good evening, Master Lance. A pleasure to join you in the panel for what is sure to be a most excellent stream.
I told you only to call me Master Lance on Sunday afternoons after 3 p.m.
Oh, sorry, sir. I don't have my nipple clamps on at the moment.
Not on a live YouTube stream. I hope that those 2 words don't automatically get us, you know, ratioed.
Certainly won't.
RRTNZ is in the chat. Hey, Lance and friends, it's morning tea time at work down here. Just jumping in to say cheers. We'll check out the replay. He is a good friend of mine from New Zealand. Okay, we might have a couple of other people pop in. Before we get cracking, thought I'd share a couple of things with you. One of them is this. This is thing related. The other one's not so much, but I'll share it anyway because I'm in a proper good mood. So this is my friend Dave Sinclair, who is a cosplayer, and he likes, one of the things he likes to do is dressing up as McCready. Check this out. He is the guy on the left. I just need to
Oh, that's awesome.
The snow beard.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the snow beard. He's got a flamethrower. He's got like flares and dynamite.
Spot on.
It is a very good costume, I have to say. And he's got the hat, the cowboy hat, and yeah. So that's my friend Dave Sinclair. He also does a Predator, which I might try and find. I do tease him a bit and call it the Bumblebee Predator, but it's supposed to be the Wasp.
The frozen
Predator.
beard sells it. The frozen beard really does it justice.
Yeah, when you were telling me about like a guy dressed like McCready, I pictured like, you know, frozen McCready, like just normal clothes. The frozenness is so
normal
great.
clothes. Yep.
I think that's what the guy on the right maybe was going for, but with less success.
Yeah, more pounds.
But no, Dave's a really good guy. He's actually a camera operator and has worked with me on a couple of feature films and other projects. And in his spare time, he likes to do the old cosplay. This is his Predator, Wasp Predator, he calls it,
Nice.
which is pretty cool. I've no idea. Oh, I guess the guy in the middle is going for like Arnie.
Yeah, heat vision.
Do you know
So
what?
good.
I've only just realised that. I
nice.
thought, who is that? Is that some kind of superhero that I'm not familiar with? But and then we've got another.
It's pretty clever. It is pretty clever.
It is pretty clever. That's pretty good. You're not going to see that at many cosplay events.
I also like this idea of like brightly colored predators. We never see that.
Yeah, no, it is quite cool. I've seen they've done a group shot of about 10 of them, and they're all very different. It's pretty cool. We've got Melvin deeply in the house as well. What? He bailed the drinkers stream to be here. My God, one down, 10,575 to go. No, I mean, that's very kind of you, mate. And you know, I'm a big supporter of the drinkers, so it's all good. Whatever. There's plenty of viewers to go round. All right, so let's get started now. I wasn't old enough to see this in the cinema when it was released in 1982 because it was an X certificate in the UK. A certificate normally only allocated to pornographic movies and American Werewolf in London. So Did any of you see this film in the cinema when it first came out? Anyone?
Not
Gary?
at all.
Anyone?
I'm only
Gary?
37.
Anyone? Gary in your 60s?
I was 11.
Oh, were you? Okay. All right. I'll let you off, Gary.
I was 14.
14. Okay. So did you weren't able to blag your way in?
Afraid not. I was a
All
very
right.
14-year-old.
Who saw it on pirate video before the official video release? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? Well, that would be me then.
You Brits had the video nasties and stuff, right? You like literally couldn't find the movie.
Yeah, well, I don't know that the thing was on the video nasty
No,
list.
it wasn't.
There is actually, you can, if you check out Mary Whitehouse's video nasty list, a list will come up on Google.
Yeah.
I don't think the thing was on it.
No, but Britain was very protective of what people were watching.
It was a big scandal. It was like the kids were able to access these, adult horror films from their video stores.
Yeah. It was the American dream, baby. It's how I lived. I saw From Dusk Till Dawn in the theaters when I was like 10 years old. Came out that theater a man. You know what I mean?
Was Salem Halak responsible for that?
Oh yeah, all them naked vampire strippers. It was great.
Yeah,
I brought my friend too, who he'd never seen anything like that. He's like, "Are we allowed to be here?" I was like, "Be quiet."
I feel we should save that story for the Dusk Till Dawn stream, but it does sound good. Is your friend over his counseling now and is able to lead a normal life?
Yes, he is.
So I saw it on video. I'll go first then, because I saw it on Video Pirate in '83, and this kid called Darren Kelly, who was the shortest kid in my class, was like, "Oh, Lance, I've got a pirate video. You want to come and see it after school?" And I was like, what is it? And the one that was going round at the time was Alien.
Yep.
So which hadn't been released on video. And I'd already seen that. And I said, "Is it Alien?" I've already seen a very bad copy of Alien, but I'd seen it. No, it's the thing. The thing. And I'm like, what's the thing? It's the thing. It's really good. And I was like, okay, all right. Is there going to be chips involved? Potato chips. What's happening? So I go to this kid's house, and I'm watching this film, and it opens with this big long shot and a helicopter, which is kind of cool, and a dog, and people shooting a dog, and that goes on for quite a while. And there's that kind of like boom, 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 and I sort of look at Darren, and I go, and I'm very young, and I go, "I'm not too impressed, Darren. Not much is happening. Just wait, Lance. Gets really good. By the time we got to the kennel scene, I was all in. Because when sort of like the dog went in there and everything was going weird, I was like, because I was really young when I saw this film, I was like, what's happening? I don't understand what's going on. What's going on? Just keep watching the dog. Well, what do you mean? What's going on? It's a dog, right? And then, and it all started, and then its head splits open. It's like a grapefruit and shit, man. Yeah, then I knew I was in for some kind after that, I was proper gripped. So I think we went back and we kind of watched bits of it again, where we had to wait like 10 minutes while you went kind of rewound the tape. And that's my first experience of the thing. Stupenzo, how did you first see it? What was your first reaction?
First of all, I love how you had to watch it like a drug deal in a back alley somewhere. That's awesome. But it
was at Darren Kelly's house, and his mum provided us with chips and beans. It wasn't quite. This is Surbiton in Surrey. It's quite a sedate neighborhood, just to clarify that.
I was like around the same age, like prepubescent, like 11 or 12 years old, maybe middle school, late elementary school. I don't know. I remember I was just sitting in my room and had a little TV. We had Sci-Fi Channel, and it's on. And I'm already like, all I saw was the kennel scene. You understand? Like the movie's playing, and it's just like the kennel scene happens. And I remember, like, I don't get scared a lot with movies, especially even as a kid. And that was one of the few times where, like, when that was happening, I remember just watching it in like stunned silence and watching all these dogs get murdered. And then when it was over, I was kind of like, turn the TV off, and I was just like, let's go to Blockbuster. I want to rent that movie right now because I know Sci-Fi is going to edit it. So let's just go watch it right now. And I ended up being like one of the first DVDs I bought and watched it all the time, showed it to my friends all the time through high school and stuff. It's always been one of my favorites. I think I've seen it like 75 times. Love it. It's,
I don't know if I've seen 75, but it's up there.
I used to watch it like, for background noise, just put it on, dude. I love it. So good. And it's one of those movies
Z3
I still learn new stuff every time I watch it. Notice new stuff I watch it. It's great.
I did pick up on a couple of things I didn't notice before. We'll get to those later. The time I watched it a few weeks ago. Z, what about you? Because you were only 11 when it came out.
Well, I was I think 14 when it came out. I sadly didn't get to watch this in cinemas, mostly due to my age restriction and height, which wasn't that great at the time. I bought my first VHS recorder back in, I think it was in 1988, which I bought to record the first season of Red Dwarf. And then I discovered the beauty of video rental shops.
Yes.
And we had this rickety shop front where I lived in West Worthing, had the cutest girl behind the counter. And before you ask, yes, I did. This was one of the first.
Sorry,
movies.
yes, you did what?
Yes,
Sorry,
I did.
Listen to his voice. Of course he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So this was one of the first movies I ever rented, and it's been on my top 10 movie list ever since. I've owned this on X-Rental VHS, Retail VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray. And this is not just a firm favorite with me, but my wife loves this film, and all 4 of my kids love this film. It's almost like it's a family horror movie.
Is your wife the lady that worked at the video store?
No.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
It's a much cuter, blonder version.
Oh, good. I'm glad you upgraded. It's you kind of went from like Betamax to VHS kind of thing. Wow, yeah, that's I've got probably 4 different versions of the film. I mean, just in terms of brands, I did have the soundtrack on vinyl.
Nice.
And I was trying to find it for Drinkers stream, and I realized it's missing. So someone's had it. I don't know when they had it, but they must have nicked it a long time ago, unless it's still in the shed. It might be that there's another box of vinyl in the shed that I haven't got. But I've got all of my Carpenters on vinyl except for that one. And I'm so annoyed. Okay, good. I mean, so you rented it was a video rental for you.
Originally a video rental. I've yet to see it in the cinemas. If it does come back, then I'll certainly go in and watch it on the big screen.
I'll let you know if it's
the whole family.
I'll let you know if it's ever on at the Prince Charles in London. That's where I saw it on the big screen for the first time.
Very nice.
With a 35mm print restored, and I think they show it usually once a year, so I'll keep an eye out for it and let you know. Tomby, what about you?
So for myself, it was the film came out 82. I was only 3 at the time, so I was much too young to actually watch it in the cinema. And it wasn't until probably around about, I'd say, 7 years after it came out. So you're talking late 80s. I was living out in Gibraltar at the time. I can still remember it. My dad was ex-armed forces, Royal Navy. So one day he brings back this hooky copy of VHS, The Thing. And I can remember it as well as it was yesterday. Both myself and my brother sat with my dad watching popcorn, and he's laughing to himself. Absolutely laughing, because obviously, clearly, he'd watched it with his shipmates, so he thought he'd bring it back to the house for his 7-year-old and his 9-year-old to watch.
I thought, I'm going to traumatize you guys. This is going to be fun.
There was definitely some trauma, and I think my dad suffered from some trauma after when my mother got hold of him. But certainly, he was laughing. I can still remember. We were really excited to obviously watch films on a weekday, let alone the weekends, and it was a kind of like the family thing to do, because over in Gibraltar there wasn't a massive amount you could do apart from watching the reruns of old British telly in the evenings. So when it came to the films, it was perfect kind of thing to do in the evenings. So there we were watching, and Stupenzo, I think Stupenzo picked up on it. It was the dog scene, or it might have been yourself, Lance.
I think all of us said the
his
dog
head just opens.
Yeah,
that was it for me. My pants were brown at the time. I can still remember crapping myself, saying, "Nope, don't want to watch this. Don't want to watch this." And it was another 2 years before I was able to watch it properly and actually enjoy it for the first time all the way through. And since then, I mean, I was into all of the horror films at the time, going through Alien, rerunning all of John Carpenter's stuff, looking at all niche kind of horror films that I could pick up. And we had just moved back to the UK. I think it was early 90s. So when we got back to the UK, video stores were a thing. And it was like in Gibraltar, it was like, no, we just pick up videos as and when. But as soon as we get back to the UK, it was like an explosion of opportunity to watch all of these films from horrors to sci-fi. And that was it for me. I was bit on all of these kind of programs. So things like the Thing, I've got original VHSs. And it's a shame because some of the stuff that my dad had at the time, they had Betamax versions, and they all went sideways in so many different moves whilst we were in the armed forces. So it certainly was an enjoyable time.
Betamax actually, even though it kind of lost out on the battle to VHS, it's a shame because the tapes took up less space, the players were superior.
It was superior,
and the quality of the tapes were better.
Yep, lasted longer, superior, better color, a lot. And it was only because the VHS was just pushed by so many companies. VHS won, and it was cheaper.
After your VHS, because at a certain age, like you'll pull it out and you realize like the tape breaks, and you're like, oh shit, they're all worthless after a while.
Or it's got this kind of white film substance on the tape, that's this mildew. That could have been that Gary had got to the tape. So neatly that takes us to Gary. When did you first see it, Gary? And Gary, you're named after one of the characters in the movie.
Quite right. I think I saw it when I was about 13, because I was and John Carpenter was the first filmmaker I really liked, because the first film I saw of his was Escape from New York.
Yeah, I saw that right before this.
And I got it from the video shop, and I decided, right, I'm going to get every film up until that point he's ever made. And you got to bear in mind, this video shop, they didn't care what age you were. so you could ask for a big horror slasher, as a pimply faced 13-year-old guy. Can I have that horror film, please? And they gave me it, and I just loved it. I mean, mainly because the Escape from New York thing, that line where Kurt Russell says to Donald Pleasance at the end, all these people have died for you. How do you feel about that? And that just made me a big John Carpenter fan. And what I really liked about it's about a shape-shifting alien coming to Earth and killing everybody. But what really stood out for me, even at the tender age of 13, I just love the story of the paranoia about the whole thing. And I still do. It's like an additional character in the film, the paranoia. And that's why I still love watching it to this day, as well as all the cool effects and all that sort of stuff.
The paranoia aspect of it is played really, really well. The first, actually, now I think about it, the first movie of Carpenter's I saw was actually The Fog.
Yeah.
Because that was shown on TV before Escape from New York came out. There's the vinyl of it.
Hell yeah.
Got a whole load of black and white press stills on the back, which is really nice. That had a very similar use of music. I noticed they used the music to build the fog when it's approaching the town, the way the music works in tandem with the fog. You kind of got that going on in this movie too. Certainly in John Carpenter's horror films, he really makes the music part of the organic presence of whatever the malevolent force is. So like in Christine, when the car appears and the lights blink on, you've got that kind of track. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Love it.
My friend Keith Gordon played Arnie in this film.
Nice.
And when I was sort of starting to direct, Keith was my mentor, just so you know. And so I heard all the stories about how they did this, how they made this movie, and they inflated the car with compressed air to rebuild the structure when it pops back out again.
When it fucking heals itself in front of
Yeah. That's a story for another stream. I'm digressing a little bit, but it's still John Carpenter.
Not at all.
John Carpenter, man.
Morricone's really has haunting and minimalistic score in this.
Right.
Yeah.
adds to the suspense, and that pounding heartbeat throughout his
Yeah.
score just leaves you on edge throughout the entire film. You just do not know what's going to happen next. I'm actually shocked that this was nominated for a Razzie.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's even
you know-
funnier is Quentin Tarantino brought the unused music back for Hateful Eight, and it got
Hateful
nominated
Eight.
for an Oscar.
Yeah, for an
Yeah.
Oscar.
No way.
yeah,
Same score.
I was about to ask if anybody else owned the soundtrack apart from me, because there's a whole load of tracks on the album that just aren't used in the film because they decided to peel it back, and so when it is used, it's
Right.
very effective.
Well, I thought John Carpenter did the music himself and just credited Ennio Morricone, but then I realized, like, no, it's just Ennio Morricone just doing John Carpenter style music. And so it's like, oh yeah, of course, he is kind of like a maestro, so he's that good, I guess.
Oh, definitely one of his best scores. I think this and the score he did for Brian De Palma's The Untouchables are probably my two favorite Ennio Morricone. I know a lot of people like his Western stuff, but
yeah,
they came out before I was a wee
Untouchables,
band.
Oh yeah.
Do like The Untouchables, man. That's another really good film. So my next question for you guys, my guests, and thanks to the 15 people that are watching, by the way, do leave a comment in the chat. Tell us what your first experience was of seeing the movie. Sean Innes saw it in the theatre, watched it so many times. I like the old James Arness version. We will talk about that a little bit, probably about 2.5 minutes. Was stunned at the SFX, whereas the early version left a lot to the imagination for most of the movie. I'm interested to know what people's favorite creature is in the film. This is mine.
Yeah.
I mean, this sequence where the head peeled off and then became a spider, and obviously these are all different facets of different creatures that this thing has met and replicated over time. This whole sequence was absolutely unreal. There used to be, in the 80s, there used to be a comic book store round the back of the Odeon Leicester Square on Charing Cross Road, and it was called the Fantasy Book Inn. And you had to take stairs sort of down into a basement to get to it. And they had a massive version of this, handmade version of it, hanging from the ceiling when I went in, and it was for sale for £299, and I really wanted to buy it, you know. And I started saving up for it, and when I came back to the store had done an insurance job,
Oh, no.
and and it was all burnt out by fire. So, and I heard it was an inside job for the insurance. Don't know whether that was true. But that was the Fantasy Book Inn on Charing Cross Road, if anybody ever remembers that, where they had this wonderful replica of this creature, which follows the chest chomp sequence. Going to use Stupenzo first. I guess there's kind of 4 or 5 creatures in the movie. Do you have a favorite?
Well, I mean, obviously, like everyone was saying, the dog is what convinced all of us this movie is like worth watching. It's very Resident Evil with the dog, like heads opening up like a flower and all that stuff. But I think my favorite's always been Palmer with like the bleeding eyes and like when he turns into like a human like poo emoji, and then his mouth open, his head turns into a giant like you know jaws and stuff. It's just so cool. And then he does that great puppet with windows as like a human puppet just like flailing around. It's stuff so funny. Love it. And then he has a great that great death scene where Kurt Russell throws that stick of dynamite at him. It blows up right in Kurt Russell's face
too.
Kurt Russell doesn't realize that it's like going to be that big of an explosion when it goes off. And you can see, even though he's like this big on the screen, you can see he's like visibly like, whoa, dude, my eyebrows are singed off. Like he's got like this face like, whoa, you guys didn't tell me that was going to be that big of a bomb. But yeah, I like the Palmer monster a lot.
Okay. What about you, Tommy?
I mean, it's certainly the kennel thing's the one that resonates the most, having dogs most of my life, but certainly just the way in which it looked, I would have to go for probably the Blair. So with the massive teeth and everything,
Yeah,
and the protrusions.
The chair.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene
Got a
really.
mouth right here.
It happens so quick, and the editing is so sharp. That scene really, man, was like, oh my god. It's up there. Z, do you have one?
I also like the spider head monster. It's actually one of my favourite scenes when it's just crawling away, and he goes,
Yeah,
"You
because he
gotta
kind
be
of
fucking
Palmer does
kidding."
that sort of look, doesn't he? And he goes, "What the fuck?"
This is double
Yeah.
take.
Gotta
Yeah.
be fucking kidding
And I mean, he's
me.
already a thing at that point, but I don't think he knows he's a thing.
Hmm.
Well,
It's one of those very rare moments of comedy timing.
Yeah.
in
I
it,
think-
which
I think it's
really
more like
helps.
Palmer thing is just a really bad actor, you know, because there's like lots of parts where he's like the supply window, you know, he says stuff like that, you know. I think he's just like overhamming it up.
I mean, that actor, who, by the way, looks uncannily like the actor who plays Murdoch in the A-Team, but it's not him. He's actually a really good actor. If you watch him on a show called 30 Something, which was out in the sort of 90s, it was kind of like an older version of Friends, about a group of people that worked in the television industry that all slept with each other and whatever, but was a bit more serious. He was one of the main characters in that, and all of these actors were like stage veterans.
Nice.
They were all. Charles Halloran was, you know, these were all people that had done like Shakespeare on Broadway, and so they were all pretty good. The actor that plays Fuchs, I said this a few weeks ago. If you watch him, he's the dead ringer for Richard Dreyfuss. He's even got Richard Dreyfuss's voice if you
Yeah.
listen to it.
Yeah.
And when I was watching it for the first time, I was like, shit, there's the guy from Jaws. So when he like dies really early, I was really surprised. I was like, I thought he's going to be the lead, you know. Here's a quick shot of the board game. Don't know if you guys are familiar.
No,
with
never heard of this. Never heard of this.
Well,
What is this?
Oh my word!
The thing board game was kickstarted. It was one of the
this is-
most successful Kickstarters on you know, whatever it is, Kickstarter. Although Stupenzo says he's never heard of it, here's actually a picture of Stupenzo with the game. So it's definitely you, dude. You just not got the orange jumpsuit.
All
on.
fat bearded guys look the same, right?
Exactly, and you get the main characters. I think in the base set, and then one of the things you could do is you could buy an expansion pack for it. I actually saw it when I was in Texas this time last year, and it had
I live in Texas.
you get all the creatures. So there's a really big board game store. I'll get you the name of it, and they had this expansion with the monsters, and I didn't buy it because I thought I didn't have enough room for it in my suitcase. I really wish I'd bought it now because I so want it, and you can't get it in the UK. It's unavailable. But you can order it on Amazon in America. So one of you American chaps. Oh wait, that's only Stupenzo.
Right.
Might have to get.
That's why I'm the only one dressed up for Halloween.
There you go. But it's I've played the board game. It's good, and you're all trying to sort of work out which one of you is the thing. Sean Innes has rightly pointed out Richard Mazur, also a very good actor.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty funny that I just thought of. I was actually kind of upset last night because I was doing a Halloween stream last night with my boys on my channel, and we were goofing off. But I was the only one dressed up, and I was dressed like Mario. And I was like, "Why is nobody else dressed up?" And here I am on Halloween, also the only one dressed up. It's funny.
Well, I am dressed up, but from the waist down. You just
Good.
can't see. I'm a thing from the waist down, but
Gotcha.
I'm just not going to show you. Gary, do you have a favorite creature?
Oh, it's got to be the payoff at the end, the Blair monster. I mean, I love the fact that Rob Bottin said, the thing is everything it's ever been, and we kind of we saw that at the end, and that was the big payoff for me, and especially that line, "Well, fuck you too."
Right.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, it's interesting. I guess one of the things I saw Rob Bottin being interviewed, and he said to Carpenter, you know, they talked about it, and I don't know who said the line. Okay, it's everything it's ever met. But Bottin basically said, I knew this is the one time I was going to be able to do anything I wanted.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Bottin almost played Palmer, and they were like, his effects team were like, don't do that. because you're already going to be overworked as it is. And like you said, like every other actor is like a trained thespian. So that was a good thing they didn't do that, basically.
I would agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
But also someone was saying, like, I think it was Kurt Russell talking to Rob Bottin when they were doing the show in the sculpt. He was like talking about how it looked kind of fake. And Rob Bottin was like, once I cover this thing in jelly, it's going to come alive. Once I cover this thing in grease, it's going to look awesome. So don't worry.
Yeah, they had buckets of KY jelly on.
And doesn't everyone?
I mean, I normally order it in bulk from Zee Threepio, but he stopped giving me a discount now because I had too much. So.
Yeah, the first taste is free, Lance.
That's right.
Yeah, man. He didn't tell me that.
Now you're hooked.
Yeah, now you're hooked. That's it. Game over.
Only ZP30 brand of lube for me. That's it. Before we segue into the Gary Boulter hellhole, let's move on. I'm gonna show you guys another tidbit. Not sure if you're aware of this, but I'm gonna show you where the location where it was actually filmed. Because they built, as you probably know, they built Outpost 31 for real. Yeah. A lot of the interior sets were shot in California, including things like the big block of ice, where they go to the Norwegian station. The Norwegian interiors were all shot in California, but some of the stuff, I'm not 100%, but I think including the rec room stuff with the pool table and everything, was all filmed on the location, because they did say in the documentary that it had interior working sets there, so that the actors could actually chill out in those sets as well in between takes. So it's almost like that room with the pool table and everything was their on location green room. So this is where it was shot, which is in Stewart, which is just between the Canadian and American border, which is here.
Alaskan border, right?
Yeah, the actors arrived in with this very sort of rickety plane, extremely unsafe. Gary's flown the route many times, as can vouch for this fact. And then they had to take a bus up this road.
Oh my God!
On the 37, and the location of the camp was somewhere around here, 38 kilometers from now. Let's put this on the kind of the photographic Google Earth version. So that gives you an idea of the terrain. Now you can see the snow. And this is the town of Stewart. So, you might have a McDonald's and a couple of things there. Oh, and the Stewart Museum Historical Society. I'm sure Kurt Russell spent many a fun night there. Not a lot going on in Stewart. They've got there is an airport strip somewhere. I think it's just outside of the town. And then if I zoom out, right, you can see how far away this is from like literally anywhere. You're zooming out for quite a while before you sort of spot a town where you go, oh, I think I've heard of that.
Wow.
They really did go all out. It's British Columbia, the northern extremes, in the middle of nowhere. So that's where it was. That was where it was filmed, in this curved valley on the 37 road, just off of. And I think the actual film location would have been somewhere around this area, maybe even in where these kind of little brown patches are, where it looks like things have been built at one time. See that?
Yeah.
You got a little road going down it, probably somewhere like that.
Jeez. Dude, Lance, what's even worse is like a lot of these Alaskan counties. This is one of the many Alaskan counties that's dry, so they couldn't get beer anywhere. They were very upset about that.
Is that true? Is that a true story?
That's what I heard.
That I did not know.
A lot of Alaska is like, it's good luck. You got to get like memberships and stuff. I mean, I'm sure they eventually got their booze because they're actors, spoiled.
No, indeed. There's also, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Fuchs's death scene in the thing was originally different. Do you guys know that?
No.
Oh, okay, all right.
Pray tell, how did he cock it?
I thought you said you were a team of experts. Okay, so This is his original death scene. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I don't, in my swiftness, click onto yes cookies, that kind of nonsense. Okay,
Why do you British people call them biscuits?
we call them cookies and biscuits because some of the brand companies bowed to American indifference, and Okay, so if you Google Fuchs's death scene, the thing, you'll see that there's this photo of Fuchs with a spade in him like this, pinned to a wall.
Cool.
And actually, that photograph appeared in an issue of Fangoria, which I saw before the movie came out. So I was kind of, and again, I still thought it was Richard Dreyfuss, and you can see why with the beard and glasses and everything. That's what happened there. There's also a deleted scene that they didn't use, which is the death of Knowles, which is this storyboarded sequence here, which they filmed, but apparently it didn't look very good. I don't know if there's a larger version of that we can clip on. Yeah, this is outpost31.com. I'll give them a shout out. It's a great site. In fact, let me put that in the chat because I don't want to be hijacking somebody else's work here. Do go and check out this website. It's great.
That blow up doll photo's real. I thought that was like some clever AI art or Photoshop when I saw that shared around.
No, yeah, I think they that's one of the scenes that they cut out originally.
I thought that picture was made by a Photoshop king. I was like, wow, this is very impressive. The grain looks good and all that stuff.
And originally, one of the characters gets killed in the ice when they go to the spaceship. That's in the book. I did have the novel for a long time. I don't know what happened to it, but that's also the original storyboards for that are there. And then you got Fuchs's death scene. Knowles originally was, he goes down the corridor and then there's this kind of version of the thing that's like on top of a box that slams him into the box and kills him. So that was how Knowles was killed originally. So there you go. And there's some really good on-set photos on here. So it's a good little site.
Wilford Brimley's autoerotic asphyxiation news right there. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and he only passed away recently, man.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, what a great actor. I mean,
I love him in Hard Target as Jean-Claude Van
Hard
Damme's
Target with John
doing his French accent.
He's like on the horse with the rifle with the explosion going on behind him. That's like, oh my god, so amazing.
Yeah,
he had a lot of fun on that movie, as I understand it. Probably because Jean-Claude shared some of his, white powder with him or whatever.
Oh my god, chance. Yeah, Cocoon's a good one too.
He's freely admitted he was in that phase during that time. Wilford Brimley, I have to say, is probably one of the best American actors ever, I think. Certainly of that generation, that old school. Because if you watch him in things like The Firm with Tom Cruise, Cocoon. Which is, I mean, I love Cocoon. And Sean said he was never young. He always seemed to play old guys. A bit like Don Amici in that respect. But yeah, what a great actor. Did everyone cover their favorite monster? I missed anyone? So that brings me on to favorite character. Who's your favorite character and why? It's been far too long since we've heard Zee's sexy voice, so I'm going to let you go first.
Well, it's got to be McCready. He's the ultimate badass. He's cool as mustard right the way through this. And at the end of the day, he knows exactly what needs to be done to prevent this thing from getting to the mainland. He's a hero through and through. Absolutely gritty performance there from Kurt Russell. Yeah,
it's it's quite a restrained performance from him as well. And I mean that as a real compliment. I think a lesser skilled actor might have gone much bigger with it.
And he kind of embodies that survival instinct and also taking on leadership in the face of unimaginable terror. I really like everything about his character.
Well, then who would be your second favorite? Because McCready's awesome. Everyone loves McCready.
I quite like Gary.
Okay, I do too.
Oh, Gary, you've got a fan. Apart from liking Gary from the Outcasts, anyone else? Just kidding.
Yeah, I really liked him. He was innocent right the way through it, and then he got his face absorbed.
I do like how Gary was humble enough to like relinquish leadership. That was cool.
Relinquish command.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's good
when he
you- it's
passed
good
over
you
the
did that,
gun.
Gary. And he, I mean, he has a particularly gruesome ending with the fingers through the face, and you kind of know all kinds of nastiness is coming out of Wilford Brimley's hand at that point. So that's
And that classic line, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch.
fucking couch. Yeah, that's a classic line. That's a good line from the movie. Stupenzo, favorite character?
Well, I mean, McCready's obviously top G, but I think my favorite, I think the one I like best, I would relate to most, I think I would be the cook in the Outpost. So I think I gotta go with Knowles because he's colorful. He's got the humor, he's got the roller skates, and he's like one of the last to die, you know. So he's just doing all right, you know, for himself for just being an outpost cook.
Yeah, and I mean the the black actors in this horror film do pretty well. One of them technically survives, and the other one survives almost right up until the end.
A funny story I heard was like someone auditioned for the role of Knowles, and instead of auditioning, he just lectured John Carpenter saying, "Hey, this character is just like a big stereotype black dude in a horror movie." And then it was like awkward silence, and then it was like, "All right, thank you." And then of course that guy didn't get the part. So I mean,
No. But that guy got to play this dog though, which
Right.
obviously worked out well for him. Yeah, okay. What about you, Tommy? Got a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few memorable mentions throughout all of it. I mean, whether you're going for Childs,
I'm not talking about who's your favorite performance, just but in terms of the character that you.
Certainly, the one I've always gravitated to is McCready.
Sure.
And with Kurt Russell being an absolute punt on who was actually going to take up the role, because I mean, the amount of people that read in for the role and were offered it before, obviously Kurt Russell got it. I mean, he brought an absolute stellar performance to it, and you just look at his mannerisms throughout all of the film. He just embodied that character through and through. You really believed what he was there doing.
I think on the documentary that role originally was it was offered to quite a lot of people. Jeff Bridges was somebody who was in the running for quite a long time. And Russell wasn't going to get it because Carpenter just thought, well, I've just given Russell a lead in something. I should work with someone else. But in the end, when people started messing them about, they said, well, let him come in and read anyway. And he did such a good job that the producers, well, we might as well cast him then.
Because they were running out of time as well, weren't they?
They were. The set was already under construction, and they had a window of kind of so winter to we have to get the hell out of here winter to shoot the exteriors. So you know, I can tell you now, I had a good friend who worked on Soldier with Kurt Russell, and this friend of mine shot Soldier and Armageddon back to back.
Yeah.
And he said it was great working on Soldier because it was like every time I did my close-ups, Kurt Russell was there feeding me the lines. And I said, you sure you want to be here? And he was like, dude, I'm getting paid $50,000 a day. Of course I'm going to be here for your close-ups, whatever you need. And that to me, by the way, epitomizes the true quality of a professional actor. When he was doing his close-ups in Armageddon, none of the cast were there. They were all in their trailers. You know, so hey, there's a lot of people on Armageddon. We won't say who, but you know, I think that's that's you know, that's what if you're getting paid $50,000 a day and You can be there for your leading man. Good for you. Sean Innes, not Sean Pertwee. He had a bigger part than Pertwee in Soldier. So guess again. Anyone not said their favorite character? I think it's just me. I mean, yeah, I'm going to say aside from McCready, I kind of like Blair because just in terms of a character who was interesting, you've got that scene where he's looking at the very basic Spectrum computer graphics and he's done his little test and you've got the cells replicating the other cells and he's got the stopwatch. Yep. And from that point onwards, I was like, okay, what's this guy going to do? And then he goes mad and then he's all right. And then every time I've watched the film, I'm trying to work out at what point has he become a thing, you know, and I'm guessing it's at some point, it's the time when he comes back and they go to him. Have you seen whoever? And he's like, I feel much better now. I want to come back inside. I think at that point he's a thing, right?
Yeah, he's got to be.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Can I offer my theory? I really think that Blair was slowly infected from the beginning because there's a part where he's dissecting the thing and he puts the eraser end on his pencil, like near it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he puts it on his lip. And I think what happens is like some of these people, like they get infected from like the inside out, like slowly, maybe. So like, I don't know what happens with him, but that's what I've always thought happened with Blair.
No, I agree with that because he's putting his, even though he's got gloves on, he's putting his hands right in that thing when he's going, oh my God. And all the dogs are in there half replicated and everything. And I don't think that you know that you're a thing until it has to defend itself.
I think that's also why he crashes everything and goes crazy because he might know something is wrong inside of him, you know, and that's why he's like, no, we've got to cut everything off because he knows like he's probably infected and everyone else might be too.
But you also might argue there then, following that theory, that McCready is a thing because at the start of the film, the dog licks Palmer, I think, and then McCready gives him his whiskey. Palmer takes it, and then McCready takes it back, and he continues drinking the whiskey. Dude. So McCready could be a thing.
Also, the idea of like the thing becoming a husky, like the husky shed so much hair, so you could accidentally like eat a dog hair or something, or get like a dog hair. Like, holy crap! I didn't even think of that. That's awful.
Yeah, I definitely make a concerted effort not to eat dog hairs when I consume food, but
breathe in dandruff, pet dandruff. I don't know. Who knows, man?
That was one of the best casting choices. Was the wolf dog they had, Jet?
Oh
yeah, he was a half breed of dog and wolf, and didn't actually bark.
Yeah,
it just looks at things really intensely.
When it walks through that hallway and ignores the camera as the camera's like, you know, pushing back, it's so great.
Yeah. So even though it's a hybrid, it behaves more like a wolf than it does an actual dog, and that's, I think, really adds to how scary this thing actually is, even before anything's happened.
No, I agree. Let me just jump onto a different picture here. So my next question, and this is one that often gets asked, is when the dog is wandering about, you cut to this shadow on the wall, and John Carpenter himself has said, well, I kind of just wanted it to be a generic shadow of anyone. And I think they got one of the crew to do it. So that it wasn't close to any of the actors. I'm not going to get it up on the screen because I don't want to risk being ratioed if I'm fiddling around playing the film. They're getting quite strict on that kind of shit. But when you look at the outline of the person and the hair, it's closest to Norris of all the people because Palmer's hair is very wild. Norris's hair is got this kind of
helmet,
sort of bubble, kind of sculpted vibe to it.
Helmet hair.
Gary's is very neat, so you can just by de facto looking at the outline of the hair, you can eliminate windows and various people, and it could really only be. I mean, it's a dead ringer for Norris silhouette, right? So
you can even see his like sweater, kind of almost like his sweater shadow.
Yeah, that's always been my view. Gord King says, "What a fine avatar I've I've got. He's saying that because it's a pumpkin.
Oh,
We did. Gord King has got the voice of Michael Cera. In case you haven't noticed. So I said,
dude, my
to him,
cousin sounds just like Jonah Hill. They should get on a stream together.
we need to get them on. That
Okay.
has to happen.
My
I
cousin
said, can
Thunderqueef.
you go into AI and combine Michael Cera with a pumpkin and see what happens? And that's my avatar.
Nice.
Michael Cera with a pumpkin, or Michael Cera as the Pumpkin King. Possibly not that relevant right now, but it's Halloween, so. Okay, so Stupendo agrees with me. Tomby, any other theories on that?
No, I mean, as soon as you were saying it, I was thinking along the same lines. I mean, it's the shape closely resembles as much as you can do, and you're stuck in that trying to imagine everybody else in that scenario. You can knock off quite a few of the characters. The sweater is probably what Stupendo says. The sweater is one of the things for me that just says, yeah, it's most likely you.
Yeah, there's also a few characters that are located in different places.
Yeah.
Z, what about you? And here's a picture of the lovely dog for you at the same time.
Oh, lovely dog. Sorry, where were we?
Could you say that any less creepy, if possible? Yeah, go on. The shadow on the wall. Do you think it's Norris? I mean, I know John Carpenter made it ambiguous, but for you, before that statement became,
it really is the only shape that would fit.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And I mean, that leads to the question: is when exactly was this? When did this take place?
Yeah. Gary, or as they say on Team America, Gary.
Gary.
I promise I will never die.
Matt Damon.
What can I say? Matt Damon. Well, I mean that's got to be Norris in the room. I agree.
That's my, and it turns out to be okay. So let me bring up this contentious thing that came up when I was on the drinkers stream, and I've gone back and I've checked since. So when the first person to die after the whole dog kennel sequence is, of course, Windows comes back in to check on the remains. At that point, MacReady is talking to Fuchs, and Fuchs is saying that the remains, they're not dead yet. So they realize, we've got a problem here. And at that point in time, it's actor Peter Maloney who's gone in to check on something, and the thing's nabbed him. Remind me of his character name. I forget. Blair.
Bennings.
No, not Blair. Bennings. Thank you. Yeah. He looked and sounded just like Bennings as the line. Right. So here's the thing. Right. There's a statement in the film more than once when the thing takes you over, it rips through your clothes, etc., etc., etc. If you watch the shot where Windows comes in and he sees the clothes covered in blood on the floor, right? Including Bennings' very distinctive red body warmer. Okay, it then cuts to a shot of Bennings with tentacles around him, and he's kind of being converted. And if you look at that shot, in that shot, he has his red body warmer on, which suggests to me that the thing is not only replicating the person, it's replicating the clothes. Now, I'm going to just advance my further argument a bit further on this. If when it takes over a person, it rips through their clothes and destroys all of their clothing and is only able to replicate organic matter and isn't able to replicate their clothes, how is it that every time we see a person in the camp who then later turns out to be a thing still has exactly the same costume on under their parkas? People have had parkas on at different times. Everybody's got their same civvies inside the main encampment on throughout the whole film. They're wearing the same jumpers, the same everything. So, sorry, but that theory is bullshit. The only explanation is that the thing can replicate clothes as well. Otherwise, everybody that had been taken over would be walking around with clothes riddled with holes and bloody stains. So in my view, it can replicate clothes as well. Tomby, what do you think?
I mean, it's the perfect act of camouflage, isn't it? I mean, if you're going to be a creature that's taken over somebody else, taken over as host, and you're in the process going to get detected simply by the clothes that someone's wearing, not wearing, then you're not going to survive very long. And
No.
like we all know, it's survival of the fittest with most organisms. So even if it's a make-believe organism as the thing, or anything in nature, it's those that can adapt the best is the thing that's going to survive. For me, it must have the ability to recreate the clothing, because that's what's going to guarantee its survival.
Yeah, that's my thought. Zee, where do you stand on that?
Yeah, the thing entity, it's a full mimic. It'll copy not just you, but everything that's on you. They're just complex patterns. So it's just replicating those complex patterns. I imagine that when it absorbs a human host, it also absorbs any natural fibers as well.
Yeah, I think so, because again, like Palmer here, played by David Clennon, when he erupts and everything else, he's got this exact same costume on, which he's had all the way through the movie.
Yeah.
So at some point, the original costume would have been destroyed.
But
or
for
at least
the thing, this isn't clothes. This is just how this character looked.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing to think about is, I know the other guys have got something to say as well, but if it can take over, replicate a complex organism, clothes are not that complex, not in the grand scheme of things.
No. Because we had a lot of people in the chat going, can only replicate organic matter. And I'm like, I don't remember a line in the film that says that, actually.
Also, technically, clothes are organic. They have carbon in them.
Carbon.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I guess that would make sense about I don't know about the prequels with the fillings in your teeth and the earrings and stuff, but that's also stupid. I don't know.
We're coming on to the slagging off part of the stream shortly, so we'll get on to the prequel, the prequel sequel, not the not the original movie.
Of course.
We won't slag that off. That was of its time. Now, look, does he not look like Richard Dreyfuss in this shot? Come on.
He absolutely does.
That could be the man from Jaws. I mean, he's even got the jumper and everything. I'm sure that's the same.
It's a Carcarius, a great white shark, a man-eater.
Yeah. And Joel Polis is actually an acting coach, and the actor who played Windows, that's also his main job. Charles Hallahan's sadly died of a heart attack quite young. But Windows, Thomas G. Waite, is still around. I'm trying to get him on the channel for an interview. I've written to him twice, but
He's
Gary's
in the Warriors too, right? Yeah,
he was in the Warriors. Yeah, Gary's going to doorstep him for me. So
if you ever interview him, you need to ask him about what the Windows thing was all about, because apparently he showed up on set wearing sunglasses. It's like, my character's name is Windows, and everyone was like, "All right, whatever,
roll with it,"
and everyone just went with it. Yeah. Also interesting is you got two characters named Mac and Windows, and this is before Mac computers and Windows computers. Weird.
I hadn't thought about that.
Weird.
Foreshadowing there.
That is very strange. This sequence, by the way, originally ended with Peter Maloney running up to a wire mesh fence and not being able to get through it, which was deleted from the film. And there's a shot of that on that website that I showed you earlier. There's a photo of that. Here it is. Here he is on the fence here on the right there. Okay. Yeah. So that's another scene that they deleted. They thought it didn't look that good. And I actually, that moment where he turns and he opens his mouth and that kind of really weird howl comes out. I remember that as a kid. That proper freaked me out. That was like, what is this thing?
He's like totally expressionless too. Like, you have found me. That's so funny.
Yeah. Zee's done that face in many a compromising moment.
Oh, I most certainly have.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Jay Desolate Studios inside story. He pissed off a lot of warriors. What was that? Yeah, Castle. which and apparently he was difficult to direct.
Mm.
Well,
I like
that's
those
probably
actors.
why he's gone on and been a teacher. I mean, also, I think you've got to remember as well that he was young, and
Yep.
people change, and I think when we're in our 20s, we all think we know everything, and then we stop playing Warhammer 40,000 and realize there are other things in life. So
You stopped?
I did. I actually played that only for about a year, so I managed to get away from that addiction pretty quickly. But I can give you a number if you need help. So, we're the consensus is we're all agreed then that the thing can rip through clothing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are there any other elements of the story which are debated? Because those are the ones that I've got. In terms of a big one, for example, is the ending.
Yeah.
Are MacReady or Childs a thing? If you've read the graphic novels, the story picks that up and takes it a lot further. I liked some of the graphic novel stories. I was hoping to show them on this stream, but unfortunately they're located behind a big spider in the shed, and this is a thing stream, so Gary was not available to fly over and get into the shed. I thought that was very uncommitted of you, Gary. You're only in Australia.
You should see our spiders, mate.
Oh yeah, I think it's one of yours that might be in there.
I know. All my Italian relatives live in Australia, and my Aunt Rosalie talk about the funnel web spiders. They just chase you around your own kitchen, and they just she's like, "Hey, step on them."
They're the Wolfman spiders that chase you around the
Oh, hell yeah.
kitchen. They're as big as your hand.
Yeah, great, aggressive.
Well, issue 1 of this, which I do have, is going for 20 quid on eBay. I'll show you it quickly.
Did they answer the question?
Yeah.
Was it Charles or MacReady?
It's Childs.
Yeah,
they go, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, they go on some kind of they get rescued pretty quickly, and then they get sent to some kind of I think it's like a naval ship or something. And then, the thing breaks out. Childs is a thing, if I remember correctly.
No.
Or is that the video game sequel I'm thinking of?
No. What happens is they do get rescued. They're both hypothermic. You don't know what's happened to Childs because when MacReady wakes up, they haven't recovered Childs. They said he was the only one there. But MacReady has a dream sequence about one of the rescue team seeing a baby seal that's injured, going to touch it, and then that seal is actually a thing, and it kills that member of the team. I think the character's called Pybus, if I remember rightly. To cut a long story short, these guys came from a submarine that broke through the ice, very ice station Zebra, and the thing gets on board the submarine. And actually, the idea of a Thing movie on a sub is really great. Cool, man. That would be a great film. Probably better than the Predator World War I movie that's coming out soon. Because you got that confinement submarine.
Gary made the same face when you said that.
It's coming. Have you not seen the poster?
I thought that was fake, but who fucking
knows? No, it's real, dude. Guys, it's coming. Predator, Prey, No Man's Land. It's I thought it was fake too, and I did some digging, but apparently Hulu have.
It probably was a fake poster, and then some asshole at 20th Century Fox was like, "Make that happen."
Good idea.
Steal it.
Yeah, because somebody started saying, "Oh, look, there's a Predator World War II movie," and I looked at the poster, and I'm like, "Well, just so you know, No Man's Land is World War One,
right?"
I think this poster might be fake, but apparently the concept is underway.
Okay,
you can tell the poster's fake because it's called No Man's Land, plural, not No Man Land.
Yeah, No Man Land.
That sounds like some sort of 70s disco band. And everybody was raving that it's a World War II movie with Predator, which would be a good concept, but that's clearly a World War I setting with trenches. Nice. So I think it's going to be a World War I Predator film.
Excellent. We've also got Disney, who are sitting on an Alien versus Predator
Predator
10-episode
franchise.
anime series.
Really?
Has it been made? See,
It has been made, yeah.
and is the South Park version of Kathleen Kennedy not releasing that? Then what's happening there?
I was we watched the 1950s version of the Blob for Schlocktober, and we were joking like the Thing versus the Blob. Like, what the hell? I think that's like worst case scenario because they would just like join forces and become Blob Thing, you know?
So, Zee, what's the story with that? Is it, can you tell us any more?
Yeah, of course. Apparently, it was announced, I think it was May this year, that Disney has apparently finished an Alien versus Predator anime series that's 10 episodes long, but the House of Mouse is keeping it under lock and key.
Right.
So it's completed. But for
Interesting.
some reason, they're not releasing it.
Damn that Cartman, Kathleen Kennedy.
I was about to say, take a chick, put a chick in it, make her gay.
Make it lame.
Make
it lame. Oh man. Anyone can use a power saw? I wonder if Kathleen Kennedy can use a power saw. But anyway, these are the 4 original issues of the Thing sequel. And if you're gonna get a graphic novel sequel to the Thing, buy this one. This is the first one. I've got all 4 of these original covers and everything, but I think you can get it as a graphic novel. I think, and Stupenzo will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did 4 follow-ons. The second one is the one where Childs turns up, where MacReady at the end of the first one is the spoiler alert, tune out now if you don't want to know.
Spoil it.
MacReady is the only person who survives the Thing submarine assault. He kind of ends up on a piece of wreckage in the sea. It's all very Titanic DiCaprio. And then he is then rescued again and ends up in a big camp with about 400 people. I think it's on like the Forest of Norway or somewhere like that. It's like a research station, and then we get all kinds of variations of the Thing, and Childs turns up, and it all goes downhill from there, and lots of people get killed.
Fun.
But the graphic novels are definitely worth your time. They're definitely worth your time if you want to check them out. Dark Horse Comics. And I think there's, I think you can get them as a anthology on from Titan or somewhere, one of those people. There's also the history of the franchise, which you can get on Amazon, which covers the films, comics, and everything.
Nice.
By Phil Hoare, interesting name. Some would say unfortunate. So theories about the end. Tomby, what are your thoughts on the ending?
Yeah, see, this is the thing. Is the question you got to ask yourself is MacReady or Childs or neither or both? So it's that right? Okay, so if we're going for the MacReady taking a drink at the start, he could very well be a Thing. In fact, you could have this scenario where you've got 2 Things running around the base at all times. One's doing everything just by being the horror aspect, whereas one's just learning by stealth. Ultimately, you would expect this entity's never come across humans before. So how would it naturally react? Who knows? We've never seen it in any other scenario on any other planet, so we don't know how it assimilates a particular species or interacts with a species. So
have you read that short story that somebody wrote, and it's the movie but from the Thing's point of view?
No.
And it's trying to communicate
things. It's very good.
Yeah, and
it
is good, and it's like trying to communicate with the humans, and it doesn't understand why they're so afraid of it.
It tries to like make the Thing like kind of sympathetic, and it's like it'll narrate it like I'm Norris now. I'm in the kitchen or whatever. It's just weird.
It's a lot of fun reading it.
It's a good perspective to have, because you don't know what kind of entity it is, and the first thing that happens is humans suddenly discover that there's this thing, and they instantly try and destroy it. So what would you do in that scenario if that was yourself? You would immediately go into a defensive mode. Survival of the fittest again. So for me, I would argue that both McCready and Charles at the end, neither of them can truly trust each other. And
No.
they would never, because of everything that's just gone on. I mean, that's what we all suffer from. We do struggle as a human race to trust people at times. So it's difficult one to say. If I was a betting man, I'd probably say both of them are probably the thing, with McCready being the stealth of the two.
Gary, base commander, any thoughts? I know this picture looks like you after a Friday night out.
Oh, yeah, tell you, should have seen me last Thursday. I think the ending to the Carpenter's thing is the best ending, one of the best endings ever to a film, because
I agree.
Simply put, we're still talking about it now. It's you know, and it was in the 80s, and it's good that it should never be. It should never be known who was the thing. Personally, I hope neither of them are the thing, so as to really, heighten the tension between them even more.
Yep.
It would be, the sequel would have been really cool if they weren't the thing, but they killed each other anyway. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, okay. Stupenzo, anything to add?
Yeah, I've always been in the boat that it's Childs. I mean, he freaking disappears out of nowhere. Where the hell were you, man? And then we needed you, and then he comes back, and then I've heard all the theories about how, like, Childs doesn't have the eye gleam. Childs also doesn't have breath coming out of his face. Also, the other good one that I like is where the idea that, like, Kurt Russell hands him like a Molotov cocktail and he takes a swig out of it. And that's why Kurt Russell starts laughing. He's just like, of course. And he's like, maybe it's better that we don't get rescued. And then, like, Childs kind of takes offense to that, obviously, but I don't know. Like Gary said, it's best not to know. But
yeah,
I'm on the boat that it's Childs. Otherwise, where's the fun in that?
I mean, I learned something new every time I talk about this film, because I hadn't thought about the whole contamination of the saliva on the whiskey bottle thing.
Right.
Learning that today. When I did the drinkers stream, the glint in the eye, I think I'd read about that somewhere, but I'd never had a discussion with anyone about it. And I looked at that when I rewatched it again. But if you apply that rule all the way through the film, it doesn't work.
Yeah. What I noticed the most recent time I watched it was the color palette. All the colors are so dull except the blood. The blood red is the only saturated color in the entire movie. It's so awesome.
Yeah. Carpenter being very clever over the color palettes. So it really pops the gore.
Yeah. Also, another thing about John Carpenter that we were talking about is, like, he makes these schlocky horror movies, but he films them in that anamorphic widescreen, and that's why they just look so much better. That's why The Fog looked great, even though it's a cheesy movie.
Very cinematic.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spend all your money on your camera.
I am going to do a stream about The Fog, which I don't think gets talked about enough. You'll all be welcome to attend. Maybe that'll be next Halloween. Who knows? Okay, so did everyone chip in on that one? I don't think I missed.
Didn't answer.
No, I got mine.
Yeah, sorry, Zee.
I think they're both human at the end of the film, because if either Childs or McCready were the thing, there would be no need for discourse. He would have immediately killed the final survivor.
That's a very good logical
It doesn't
argument.
have to hide anymore.
That's hard to. I think the only counter argument I would have to that is, I think that the last thing that gets taken over in a person by the thing is their humanity and the brain, effectively. So you still believe you're human right up until the last minute, and that there's a sentence where Childs talks about that, and he says, if I was a human, or if I was a thing, how would you really know? And then that theory is also reinforced by the fact that Childs still acts in very much in character up until the point that suddenly it's revealed it's in his blood, at which point it starts like exploding out of his body, like he loses total control of the last bits of him that are left. So but I think your argument is sound on there. So you win the Halloween cookie. Stupenzo's cooking it right now. It's in the oven.
You bake cookies. But I was saying I like how like expanding on what you were saying, Lance. Like I also, if you notice during the blood test, like Windows and some of these other people, like they have this expression like, am I a thing? I don't know. I'm about to find out. You know, like they don't even know. You know, they're like when they push the thing and it like the smoke comes up and Windows has this like sigh of relief, like, oh, okay, good. You know, like he doesn't even know.
Now, I know some of these effects are a little bit dated. Gary's made this expression at an audition many a time. Always. So, but even the stop motion stuff, and there was more stop motion in the original cut of the movie, and then Carpenter wasn't happy with a lot of it, so he decided to cut it down to the bare minimum, and they reshot some stuff. I like it because I'm so fucking bored of CGI, and we'll move on to the prequel sequel and discuss it briefly. I think the thing that really annoyed me about it was, one, it kind of seemed to suddenly have these powers and was a lot more daring than it was in this movie, which didn't make sense, because surely in the group that it encountered prior to this, it would be less powerful because it had just broken out of the ice. It would have been probably thawed for thousands of years. Maybe it wouldn't be too cognizant. You know, it wouldn't be as quick-witted and functional. I'm basing that just purely on everything else we know. It seemed to be more powerful. It could shoot tendrils, you know, hundreds of meters and all this nonsense. And I thought also the fact that you had a male-female composition in that camp, you know, with the Norwegians, there were female staff there. I was waiting for the Thing snog sequence where someone was going to be getting it on with someone and a smooch, and then, you know, their jaw was going to open up. I just thought there was a lot of lost opportunities there, and the effects work in the original, I still think even the dated stuff is very charming. And then if you look at the making of for the prequel, which when was that, 2009 or 2011, something like that, you can actually see that they did make physical monsters for all the effects, and then the studio decided to dump them and replace them with CGI in post-production.
I remember being very excited about that movie. And
feeling
kind of heartbroken when I saw it in theaters. I was like,
because it potentially it was a great idea for a film. We knew what we were going to get, and that was absolutely fine. But give us the same and do a good job, and it could have been good. It could have been really good.
I mean, there's one particular deleted scene, or I don't think it was deleted. I don't think it made it, where they were going to do a series of stop motion and then cut to animation. You know, when the dog bursts out of the composite alien at the end,
right?
It was supposed to come out in full and be its own separate entity.
Damn.
While the human formed behind it.
Yeah, that's all kind of cool stuff I'd like to see. Like, you know, rip your arm off and then the arm turns into something else and that goes and attacks something else, someone else, you know. It's like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I like about this is it's a multifaceted alien. It's essentially keeping them all occupied with live action Among Us while it builds its escape pod.
Sorry, forgive me. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's just keeping everybody out of the way and occupied with fear and distrust and paranoia, while it figures out a way to get the hell out of the research base.
Yeah, I think another huge problem I had with the prequel, besides like the lying about it's all going to be practical effects, that was like one of the few times, like before I was totally disillusioned by Hollywood and how terrible movies are nowadays.
Yeah,
I was like excited about the prequel. I was like trying to count down the days, practical effects, and then they just kind of pulled a 180 on everybody. But the other big problem I had with the prequel, the women. The reason why the 80s version works so well with the paranoia, it's all dudes, it's all guys. You throw a woman in the mix and all of a sudden, like, you know, protective nature takes over, and it would just, if one woman in this movie would have like changed everything in the 80s version, you know.
I didn't mind that. I'm glad there weren't any women in the 82 version, but I thought that actually added an extra element that would make them more vulnerable, because obviously certain guys would be protective over certain female characters, and I thought you'd have a female character that would be a thing, and I thought they would do something with that, but they didn't do anything with it. This is a deleted scene. You can find it if you search the thing 2011 Two Heads. I won't show too much of it, but this is a practical version of that creature instead of the CGI one that they used. That shot, and in my money, just in that shot there that I just showed you, it looks 10 times better than the CGI rubbish that we saw. I saw it at the cinema, and I was very disappointed.
Melvin's comment about the earring. Who would be wearing a metal earring in Antarctica?
Well, Scandinavians, I mean, look, I'm half Danish. I've even got a Danish flag here, just for the record. I'm actually in Outpost 32 right now. It's a Danish outpost in the Antarctica. But Jim's right. They should release a practical cut of that film.
Go.
It's not going to save the film, because that's the effects are not the only issue with that movie. There's quite a few issues, but it would be good to see the original practical effects intended. I've never watched it since I saw it.
I definitely prefer practical effects. They've got more weight and presence than CGI.
Could not agree more.
Tell.
No wonder you're Z3PO. That's totally bang on, sir. Totally bang on. Anyone else? Did anyone not see the prequel?
No, seen it.
Gary, what was your reaction when you saw it?
Oh, extreme disappointment. I mean, it felt to me like just a standard horror film or monster film, in that people found the thing, it's a monster. Some people get killed, and there was just nothing unique about it compared to the other one. Because, at risk of sounding like a broken record, for me, the main thing about the '82 version was the paranoia. That was with a shape-shifting alien in the background. But here it was just about monsters and the effects, and there wasn't that much more to it than that for me. Just run-of-the-mill monster movie.
Well, the effects stuff is quite fast, and they don't keep it on screen longer than it's needed, which is good.
I mean, the thing is, you look at the persona that the original had. You're looking at everything from just how the music was being used, how the sets were being used, how the actors are being used, and then you've got this over-reliance on computers for many of the last 10, 15 years. You kind of like lose the ability to connect with things once the practical effects have gone. I mean, you look at all of the films from our youth. Anything where there's practical effects is loved and beloved on so many different levels, because they pay so much more attention to the effects, they pay so much attention to the music, the surroundings, locations, you name it, more love and care and due care and attention to it. The second everything goes onto the computer side, it's a case of, right, okay, what else can we chop out the film, get a computer to render, and therefore the love goes out in certain areas. And the films ultimately suffer for it. Films, TVs, exactly the same.
Yeah, would agree.
It's also much better for the actors, like when Wilford Brimley is dissecting the thing that they find from the Scandinavian base or the Norwegian base. His reaction, that he's smelling all that rubber and fumes, and apparently that thing smelled awful. He's not.
It did. It reeked.
I mean, just look at the effects on the actors of the chestburster scene in the original Alien, because they didn't expect so much blood and guts to come out,
like spraying in their lips and stuff.
Yeah, they were terrified. They were proper, genuine reactions.
Hell yeah,
and that's what you need.
Yeah, I got to sit next to John Hurt on a plane and tackle, all that with him, and it was like I talked to him for 5 minutes, and I'd think, better shut up now, because I'm on the plane. I feel like I'm bothering him a bit. And another 5 minutes passed, and I'd be like, I've got to talk to him about something else.
Yep.
And he was ever so lovely. He was really nice. He passed away about a year after that, and he was with his wife, and he was determined to beat his cancer. It was very sad that what happened to him. On a lighter note, Captain Meat Adventures, the name for a porno star, if ever there was one, is also in the chat. For me, Palmer is the first infected, he says.
I definitely feel he was infected early on, if not the first.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, his overacting,
Yep.
he's like
Chariots of the Gods, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I swear that they just said, could you play him just like the guy from the A-Team, because you look a bit like him, and they were like, yeah, all right then, play him like Murdoch. It'll be good. It kind of works. I mean, I like David Clennon as an actor. If you watch him in other stuff, he's really good. Okay. Before I go on to any other business and give you guys a chance to promote all your shit, including the Z3PO codpiece soon to be available for Christmas.
It only comes in large, though.
I thought it extra large. I thought. So, out of 10 on IMDb, Stupenzo, what would you rate this movie?
I give it a 9, man. I mean, I don't give out 10s. I give it like an 8.5 or a 9. It's one of my favorite movies. It's easily top 10. Definitely top 3 of all horror movies. Love it.
We did a top 5 horror movies with a panel. Gary, were you on that? I can't remember. There was about 5 of us. And The Thing was voted number 1. The Thing was voted number 1. It was top 5 horror movies from 1970 to 1990. And we let the chat vote as well. And The Thing was voted number 1. And it was my number 1.
Surprised me. Yeah, The Thing, The Ring, The Exorcist, The Shining, all those. This is great.
Yep.
Tomby, out of 10 for you?
It's squarely between 8.5, 9. It's definitely up there. It's still one of my favorites. There's very few horror movies to beat it. I think it deserves the 9, to be honest.
Gord King is disputing this, Z3PO. It comes in all sizes. Clearly, he's bought the set. Gord King, we've got to love him. Z3PO, out of 10, what would you give it?
This is a solid 9 every time, and it's been in my top 10 movies since I watched it way back when. It's a timeless classic, and it's just a testament to John Carpenter's skill as a director and the enduring practical effects in cinema. It's an absolute must-see for any horror fan.
Yeah, agree 200%. Last but by no means least, do you come from a man down under? Gary?
Well, I'd have to give it an have to agree with Stupenzo. Never give the 10s. And you know what? Also, I'll even go so far as to say that John Carpenter's The Prince of Darkness, number 9 for me, and Into the Mouth of Madness, also number 9.
The Doomsday trilogy, right? The Armageddon trilogy, right?
Yep, the Armageddon.
You can look on my personal IMDb account, and you can see that I have actually given it a 10 because on the Outcast Creative.
Well, IMDb,
On the Outcast Creative, we go all the way to 11. So, yeah, I do give out 10s. If a film is still as powerful for me now as it was back then, and I ask myself, in what way could this be better? And I guess I could say some of the special effects could be better, but that's not fair to the film at the time it was made. So if I say, could it have been any better at the time it was made? What would I do differently if I was directing it?
Add a gratuitous sex scene.
Nothing is the answer. Well, that's only if we can have Z3PO's codpiece in that scene, collector's edition. But no, there's nothing about it I would change. So for me, it's got to be a 10. I don't give them out very often. I think I've maybe 7 or 8 films I can think of, but it's a 10 for me. Fantastic. So before we talk about what everyone's got coming up and stuff, I just want to also, by the way, thank you guys, because 3 of you have never been on the channel before. It's been brilliant having you on. I love doing these kinds of discussions, and we frequently do top 5s. So it'd be good to get you back for a top 5 at some point.
Sure thing.
And also to get you on for another Chew the Fat episode when we do another iconic movie. I am going to do The Untouchables at some point. So that might be one you
cracking
guys.
Movie.
And I think, Tomby, you're a 2000 AD fan?
I am indeed, sir.
I'm going to do a top 5 Judge Dredd 2000 AD
Nice.
stories. So I'm hoping to do that this side of Christmas. We'll see. I'm going to do a top 5 Doctor Who as well. So that's going to be interesting. And fiercely contested, I think. I don't know if I'm going to do top 5 Doctor Who villains or top 5 Doctor Who stories. I'm umming and ahhing at the moment between the two. So I'm going to ask each one of you before you tell me about what you got coming up, and just tell me about your channel a little bit. In the last 10 years, I don't think there's been a horror film personally that I would say has been on par with The Thing. But in the last 10 years, let's make it after 2010, because we know the 2 years of the pandemic don't count. Is there a horror film that's stuck in your mind where you've gone, that's good? And if so, what was it? Stupenzo, you were examining your microphone closely, so I assume that means you were already knee deep in thought.
Well, basically, like as far as like more recent stuff,
yeah,
I do like
just
Black
give me
Coat's
one.
Daughter
Just
a
give me
lot.
one.
Oh, well, I guess it's Hereditary. Hereditary, the first time I watched it, I thought it was pretty good. I saw it a second time, realized it's a damn masterpiece. It's probably the best horror movie made of the 21st century.
Ooh, big words.
Yeah.
So that's the 2018 movie with Toni Collette.
Yeah, it's just like The Shining, where I feel like it's cursed. Like you're watching it, you're actually like being just like the family in the movie. You're being tricked into summoning something evil just by watching the movie. And there's so much creepy shit going on in that movie, like subliminally.
I have seen the film. I agree with you. It is creepy as fuck. In fact,
I think 30 years from now, we'll be still discovering new elements in that movie.
Yeah.
Decades from now.
And a tour de force performance from Toni Collette. Take a bow, Miss Collette. Very, very good. I would agree. Tomby, you're next below Stupenzo on our Brady Bunch configuration there. Do you have a horror film in the last 10 years that you've thought, yeah, pretty good?
So certainly one that I go back to every now and again is probably The Conjuring, only because of the type of story it is. It's the typical paranormal investigators.
When did that come out?
Is that early 2013, I think?
I don't know if I've seen that.
I think it was 2013, 2014.
The one with Patrick Wilson.
Yes. Yeah.
I have seen it. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's got a creepy looking kid in it, and
yeah,
like most horror films these days, creepy.
It's always
kid.
a creepy kid.
It's always a creepy.
La
kid.
la 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 la.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good movie. Yeah. Based on the true case files of the Warrens. I don't know the story behind that. Is there any truth in that?
Not I've looked into it, but I just think the film for itself just carries it. I enjoy it.
Okay.
Go back to it every now and again.
Jim D is saying Barbie was horrifying for different reasons. I can see why you say that.
Is Jim D Knapp, is he?
I can't verify, but I did quite like Michael Cera in that film. I thought he was very funny, and that, of course, as we know, that's really Gord King. Captain Meets Adventures. Can I say Terrifier 2 is a 10 out of 10? I'm not even sure I've seen Terrifier 1.
The bedroom scene in Terrifier 2 is pretty damn excellent. Just see that part of the movie.
I with your chuckling voice behind that intent, I dread to think what that scene contains.
One of the glorious death scenes I've ever seen in a movie in my life. Okay, it's awesome.
Z, do you have a horror movie in the last 10 years that you've seen that you've said, yeah, this is worthy of a Codpiece Award?
Well, horror's not my favorite genre. I do like sci-fi horror. I do like superhero horror.
I'll accept a sci-fi horror if you've got one.
But I was quite partial to the South Korean movie Train to Busan from 2016.
Yep. That's a very good film.
Zombie Outbreak. I really enjoyed that.
And actually, the sequel to that film is, I mean, it is more of the same, but it's perfectly watchable fun. I think I saw the second one during the pandemic. I'm just going to say, not a good film to watch when you're in the height of an epidemic. But yeah, if you haven't seen Train to Busan, I recommend it. That was discussed actually when we did our horror stream, and we did a little bit where we talked about the more modern stuff and what's been good, and we did talk about Train to Busan briefly. I think I might even have the Blu-ray of that. I need to check. Good choice, sir.
Yep.
Last
of
but
Asian,
by no means least, Gary.
What's the last one I saw? Oh, I saw The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe.
Yes, but that was the last one you saw. Did you think it was good? Is the question.
Thought it was funny.
It does have lots of scenes of Russell Crowe on the back of a moped, so maybe not my idea of a horror film.
I don't
Possibly
know.
some people.
I love this accent. Oh, look, I'm sort of partial to sort of those exorcism type things. I mean, The Exorcist is still one of my favorite ones, mostly because it's it's not really about all right. It's about fighting the devil and all that, but for me,
Yeah.
it's like The Thing. It's about the paranoia, but in the original Exorcist, it's about saving the girl. That's first and foremost.
I actually thought. I mean, that film was all right. I watched it; was perfectly enjoyable. But
they set up but the Pope's Exorcist. They're setting up a franchise. Back in the day, they used to make standalone films that were really good. But now it's about setting up IPs and franchises. But, I mean, it was all right. I mean, but that was a lot. But last, I mean, all right. Cosmic Horror. Oh God, I've forgotten its name. The Event Horizon.
Event Horizon.
That's I believe that's 97. But I'll give you that. My same friend that was in Armageddon was also in that. David Macy said, "Come Down." Yeah, I had one of those the other week. 2012, quite a good horror starring my friend Jessica Barden. I'll have to check that out. I think I have seen that actually. Captain Meat has mentioned Halloween 3 Season of the Witch was hated when it came out. I really like that movie.
The song drives me nuts in that commercial.
5 more days to Halloween, silver shamrock. Sorry, I'll make sure I'll put that on a loop for you next time.
I'm just like the main guy at the end of the movie. No, like ripping my hair out and stuff.
I really like the story. I think it's a really it's not a Halloween franchise movie. Originally the script was a separate film, and they just decided it was called something else, and they just decided it had enough elements in it that we'll make it Halloween 3, and it would have been better if they just called it whatever it was supposed to be called.
Another similar movie to Season of the Witch I like is The Stuff. everyone's eating the stuff. That white. Is it dessert? Is it breakfast?
It's the yogurt that guy finds growing out the ground that makes him a millionaire, and everyone starts eating it. Man. And I think there might have been a longer cut of that movie that I've not seen because it felt very short on video.
I love that movie. I actually showed it to some youngins, like some 12-year-olds, and they loved it too. They thought it was great. But yeah, the newer stuff I like it also is like The Black Coat's Daughter is great, and all the Nick Cage ones, Color Out of Space and Mandy, and there's some good ones every once in a while, but they're few and far between. I swear these days. It's sad.
Do you guys know what Frank Darabont's first stab at a reasonably budgeted horror film was before he got into
The Blob?
It was the 1988 version, which I talk about in my novel, which funnily enough is called 1988. And I'll bring it up because I just interviewed Jeff Farley. He's on the channel under industry interviews. I think he's number 39. He was the main makeup artist on The Blob, and we talk about The Blob at length on that interview. He also did he worked for Charles Band's company, so he did films like Arena, Robojocks and Ghoulies and all those, and moved over to Italy for a while with that whole kind of straight-to-video horror boom in the mid-'80s going into the early 90s. Worked on things like Zone Troopers and stuff like that. But he also did 2 seasons of Babylon 5 and the original pilot of Babylon 5 and Demolition Man with Stallone.
I was going to say Demolition Man as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Dude.
yeah.
Really interesting Troopers. They're so accurate. The Demolition Man is so like you never would have guessed that was the one that would have been the closest to the future. You never would have guessed. Holy Lord.
Taco Bells are everywhere.
It's pretty accurate to what's going on. So guys, again, thanks so much for coming on. Let's just do a quick whip round. Stupenzo, where can people find you? The links, by the way, to all my guests are already all below.
Yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel or Twitter, Stupenzolicious, or YouTube at Stupenzo. We do one of these goof off streams every Monday, talk about nonsense, and then every Wednesday we release a Mystery Science Theater style,
Cool.
we watch video. I just got done with Schlocktober. I'm so glad we released a whole full unedited public domain riff of a movie every day. And it was quite a task. I don't know why I did that to myself, but tomorrow's Pumpkinhead 1 and 2. And then we'll go back to, I think today was Night of the Demons. So happy Halloween.
Pumpkinhead was directed by Stan Winston, right?
Right.
Yeah,
and that's
that was
not one
like
of the
his-
public domain ones that we did. Obviously, that's the special November 1st Wednesday treat for you.
And Night of the Demons is Dario Argento.
No, we're doing the it
No?
was the 80s one, Ken Tenney, his name.
I'm
was,
thinking of Demons. I'm thinking of Demons.
you are.
Yeah.
Night of the Demons is the silly one.
Okay.
But yeah,
Right.
we just a lot of goofing off on my channel. It's fun.
Fab stuff. Tomby, where can we find you? What's your stuff about?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube under the Real Tombly Booze. Mostly gaming currently, but certainly going to be moving into some TV, film critiquing, especially looking forward to the Marvels coming out pretty shortly. You can also find me on Kick, Rumble, and on Twitch. Doing very much the same content, is streamed in multiple locations. And as always, you can find me, The Real Tomby, on Twitter as well.
I think I might bend your arm about the various other platforms because I probably should be doing those and I'm not, and might need to bend your ear for the technical expertise there.
Yeah, by all means, my friend. By all means.
If my Gary Boulter 9000 app is not functioning.
I'm sorry. What was that? Sorry, Lance. What was that? You're breaking up.
Gary, what murder mystery event can we find you at in Australia in the next 2 weeks?
I do a lot of corporate murder mystery events here in Australia. But for those watching in England, you can see me at the Miraban Film Festival, and I'm up for an award. So that's cool. So vote for me.
Yeah, you're up
At
for
the
the
Miraban
Best
Film
Actor
Festival.
called Gary Award.
The late great Tom Sizemore
Hardy?
I'm up against him. He'll probably win it, but what the hell?
I think he's still alive, though. I don't think he's the late Tom Hardy. I think he's great Tom.
Sizemore.
Oh, Sizemore. Okay, right.
Oh, yeah.
You're up against Tom Sizemore.
Yeah. But hey, thrilling to be in such esteemed best acting company.
And we're also interviewing you and the cast of your latest film on my channel pretty soon.
I still waiting to hear back from them, but very much
Potentially, we've penciled that in. We'll, as soon as we know, it'll be announced. Yeah. And they're going to come on. The creative team are going to talk to us. Last but by no means least, the king of Julian Clary. That's the voice.
Julian Clary.
That's the voice I was trying to remember.
You're thinking about it for the past hour and 48 minutes. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it suddenly came to be. So last but by no means least, Julian Clary's best impersonator, Zee Threepio. I know we can find you on Mr. Brown Alliance on Sunday, Wednesday, etc. But do you do your own stuff as well?
I don't. I'm a regular panel member with Mr. Brown Alliance. You can meet us on Wednesdays and Sundays on our YouTube channel. Tomorrow we're doing Poltergeist. I'm not on the panel for that one, but we'll have our end of week roundup next Sunday.
I'm so glad that I forgot to put this title up
The whole
during the stream. And but I didn't have everybody on there, I don't think, but and there were some people that said they might make it, they might not, etc. Well, look, guys, thanks ever so much for coming on. Next from me, I'm going to be on Retro Nerd Girls channel. I think it's 10 p.m. GMT. We're doing part 2 of movies that make us feel good, which is very much open to interpretation, but we've already had lots of discussion of things like Field of Dreams, Cocoon, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Gene Wilder version, of course, because there is only that version.
That's the only version that exists.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's what I've heard.
Did you tell us the good news you heard you had?
Oh, I didn't. No,
I was like, what is that?
Shit, I forgot to say. I mean, it's not relevant to YouTube or anything.
No, I
but,
wanted to know that.
I mean, kind of is connected. I don't know if you guys saw, and it depends if you kind of actually follow any of the stuff that I do. But I did a very personal video recently about trying to find my Danish cousins in Denmark. This is my parents are sadly deceased. My dad had a twin brother called Mogens, and Uncle Mogens, as he was known to us, had 2 daughters, Mariana and Mette. And unfortunately, my Danish surname is Nielsen, which is the equivalent of Smith in England, so it's like the most popular name. So despite like numerous searches and things I literally wrote to like every Nielsen on Facebook over like a 7-day period at one point. I had all kinds of people trying to help me. But to cut a long story short, I posted in some Danish genealogy groups, and a very nice lady got in touch with me there. She did some searches, and she was able to find out my oldest cousin's married name, got hold of them, and her oldest son called me tonight, and I had an hour-long call with him right before we did this stream.
Yeah.
And I've got
Nice.
to tell you, considering my parents passed away, one in 2009 and one in 2010, this is the first time in 13 years that I'm speaking to any of my Danish family, because all the contact information I had for them was wrong. And I have been trying to trace them ever since my father died in 2010. I've had 3 big pushes to trace them, and this is the one, and I finally found them all. So I was absolutely overjoyed. I can't even tell you how happy I was. It was an amazing feeling. And bless him, the oldest son who chatted to me for quite a while, he was absolutely lovely. And he was also ex-military and hasn't seen a bridge too far. So obviously I'll be bringing him up to speed on that as soon as possible. Yeah, no, I mean, they actually watched the video. They saw the video, and I mean, I found them before that, but I was able to send it to them. So they'd watched the video, and yeah, he reached out to me, and my cousins are in good health, and I just can't wait to see them again. The last
fantastic
time
news, mate. That's fantastic news.
Well done, mate. Well done.
Nice.
Yeah. So the last time I saw them in person would have been in the mid 90s. So, it's a long time.
Yeah, it's a chunk of change. It's been a minute.
Yeah. So I'd sort of gone from kind of having no family to, oh my God, I've got some family. It is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Well done.
thank you. I've totally forgot about that. Mainly because it's got nothing to do with the thing.
No problem.
Yeah. So I will be back probably on Sunday. I typically stream Monday and Tuesday nights, usually around 9 p.m. GMT. Sometimes I do industry interviews on a Tuesday, but sometimes they're on a Wednesday. It just depends on the availability of my guests. I do a bit of a weekly roundup of American cinema releases with my friend George. We put that on pause for a little bit because of a job I had, but we're going to be restarting that. We might even do one tomorrow. So that's usually a bit earlier, around sort of 8 p.m. GMT, usually for about 90 minutes. And I'll also do a little roundup of the things I've seen. Also, I'll be dropping a best of British drama, at least 3 of these a month. They won't always be weekly. I'm normally doing those early on a Friday night or a Saturday evening. It's usually true story drama stuff is the stuff I'm focusing on. If I recommend you something on that stream and you like that kind of thing, then trust me, you're going to be in for a treat. It will be something that you'll want to watch. Fantastic. All right, then. Well, that's it for us on the thing.
Hell yeah.
And I think we did a good job there.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
no,
thank you very
listen,
much indeed.
all of you are welcome back anytime. Apart from Gary, of course, who's got a restraining order for 500 yards. But online, it's fine.
Well, I'll try not to have laryngitis and be over caffeinated next time.
I thought over decaffeinated is a
No.
YouTube content creator's obligation on any stream, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
No, you're all
See
welcome
them-
back.
Let's have my herb.
It's been
See the
great.
amount of coffee I've got behind me.
Yeah.
I've got some stacks of it.
Hang on a minute. Let's wait. Let's just enlarge that for a second.
Just there.
Oh, whoa.
Good God, man!
Right there. I like how it's right on your desk. It's so cool.
And the interesting thing is, I never drank coffee up until probably 2 months ago because I hated the taste as a kid.
Yeah,
Picked it up.
Oh, wow.
I'm not
Picked it up while I was away on holiday, and I'm into coffee big time. So
Well, I always drink one
Testing
cup of
most
cowboy coffee a day, but
Yep.
today I had 2. I woke up like an hour before the stream started. I was still drunk from last night. So
I don't know what cowboy coffee is, but it makes it.
it's
sound
like you
shift through the
rolling
eye of a
boil
needle.
it. You drop it in the boiling
it's just
water and like
constantly
hard
going.
boil it.
Damn.
It's really bitter
Well,
and really strong.
on that note of strong coffee and its effects on the human body, we're going to leave it there. It just reminds me to thank my guests, Zee Threepio, Stupenzo, Tomby, and of course the amazing Gary Boulter from Outcast Australia. Do check out their stuff, and I'm sure they'll all be back on the channel as soon as I can bribe them to come back. In the meantime, don't forget to tell the people that you care about that you love them, and we will see you all again real soon.